Well, it's Thursday, and you all know what that means. That means we're going to be reviewing MLW Fusion. Now, in this particular episode of MLW, they head down south of the border to Mexico to participate. We have some amazing luchadors involved. However, during the storylines, we have Becca, who is still complaining the fact that she deserves to have a title match against our current MLW Featherweight champion, but also our WXW Women's champion, Delmi Elxo. But however, Delmi had to travel to Germany. But we also have the disrespectful ways of Alex Kane saying that Willie Mack doesn't deserve to be a champion that no one cares about, but anything could happen during that time. Then, of course, we have Impact Wrestling. As you know, the Rascals continues to harass, saying that they deserve to be tag team champions. But a lot of things have been going on. However, the much rather mystery has begun. The mystery is, how did Eric Young survive after he was killed off? We'll find out. And of course, we have for our Ring of Honor episode, we have at least 3 championship matches. And of course, more of the Ring of Honor World Television title Eliminator Tournament taking place as well. And of course, we have some news updates to tell what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling, such as what events the promotions are putting out, who is booked, what matches are set, any injured wrestlers, any signed wrestlers, anything of outside of wrestling, the whole enchilada. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Leaded Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Leaded Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Jay Rod here. If you are new to the channel, welcome. If you like this channel, please give us a subscribe. We'll be actually doing a lot of reviews on daily times of what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. And of course, if you like this episode, please give us a like and you can comment down below. So let's get started with our very first review. We have MLW Fusion 176. Now, it opened up with an interview with Sam, conducting it with Willie Mack. As you know, Willie Mack is going to be facing Alex Kane, our current MLW World Heavyweight Champion. However, Alex Kane has been showing disrespectful remarks towards Willie for the past couple of weeks, saying that, Willie Mack, you're nothing but a fat slob, you eat McDonald's and all that. I don't understand why people love you, you don't even deserve a title shot, that sort of thing. However, this thing got escalated once again when Alex Kane got in his face and began to brawl. He doesn't think that he is worthy to be, that people should worship him. We'll see about that. But our very first match involves, of course, our so-called champion, Alex Kane, taking on Delirious. Now, Alex Kane wants to prove once again why he is worthy to be champion and why the Bumaye Fight Club is for the people. Well, he kind of did by applying one of his usual suplex on Delirious to pick up the win. Now, Matt Cardona, as you know, will be making his debut real soon next month on Fury Road. But his opponent is none other than Mance Warner from the Second Gear crew. Now, the reason this match is set is because Matt Cardona's, I don't know if he's his manager or friend or whatever, Mr. St. Laurent, who has been showing disrespectful remarks towards Microman, and of course Microman's new BFF, Mance Warner, stood up for him. However, Matt Cardona did not appreciate what Mance Warner did. So that's probably the reasons that's going to happen. So it's going to be, Matt Cardona versus Mance Warner in Fury Road. Now, we had a very interesting, video of Delmi Exo talking about her journey since arriving in MLW when the featherweight division was being um, started out. But we all remember Delmi Exo with her sister Ashley Voss, known as Sea Stars. But I have to say her journey has been long and hard for her ever since. I mean, it's very interesting because we may remember her with her sister Ashley, but being on her own, I think she has not stepped out of the shadow, I mean, but she more like stepped up to be her own person, which is great. Now, speaking of Delmiak, so recently she has been criticized by none other than newcomer Becca. Now, Becca doesn't believes that she earned a title shot. However, she thought that she was going to have a match against Delmi Exo down in Mexico. However, because Delmi Exo is double champion, not only she's the MLW Women's Featherweight Champion, she's also the WXW Women's World Champion. So that means she's going to have a big workload. So according to a staff member at MLW, Delmi Exo had to travel to Germany, which of course Becca feels that this is really stupid and ridiculous. She's going to try to determine, saying that Delmi Exo does not deserve to be champion, that she deserves the spotlight. But Delmi Exo, we know, has worked real hard to get where she's at. Now, our somewhat of a main event, we have a trios action. We have Genio del Aire, which means in translation, genius of the sky. Excalibur and Dimanico, they take on Jack Cartwheel, Mystesis, and Willie Mack. Now, this is the kind of matches I like when there's a lot of spots involving Lucha Libre, because I grew up watching Lucha Libre as a kid. I never stopped loving watching it. However, I think many people can say this was a pretty good match. But in some point near the end, Dimanico's enemies showed up to distract them, giving Jack Cartwheel enough time to apply the Jack Arrow onto him, which is like a spinal roll type move off the turnbuckle to pick up the win. Now, at the end of the show, we see the Calling members beating the crap out of Lance Anoy. And of course, Juicy Finau was locked into a room where he couldn't get to him. This is a direct message from the Calling to Jacob Fatu. Now, keep in mind, the Calling defeated Juicy and Lance for the MLW World Tag Team titles. Now it appears that they're aiming for the National Openweight title that Jacob Fatu has. So anything good is a possibility from where they're going to go from there. So I think that's pretty much it with MLW. I believe it's time for Impact Wrestling. Okay, Impact Wrestling. They're in Chicago. Of course, Chicago does have a pretty good wrestling scene there, including the fan base. However, it opened up with, of course, our new and current and Impact Knockouts World Champion, Trinity. Now, Trinity said that this place holds a special dear to heart. This is where, of course, the city where she debuted ever since she left WWE. However, she was later visited by her challenger for that title in Emergence. But however, the little party was interrupted by the Coven, who is sick and tired of people like Deonna Purrazzo and Trinity. However, it was, of course, Trinity who defeated Kylan King in Chicago in her debut, which is something she hasn't forgotten. However, this thing got out of hand with all these women. Of course, the director of Authority, Santino Marella, showed up saying they were going to have a tag team match a little later. But however, Deonna Purrazzo said that she's not going to wait, that she wants this match now. So Santino asked the fans, do they want to see it now? Well, it kind of did. Now, you probably generally thought that Trinity Fatu and Deonna Purrazzo were going to win this one. However, that wasn't the case. There was a misfire by Trinity to Deonna Purrazzo, but however, it was Taylor Wilde that picked up the win by Kylan King who picked up the win by applying her finisher onto Deonna Purrazzo. Now, we know that Deonna has issued her rematch clause against Trinity for the Knockouts title, but what does this mean for the Coven? I wouldn't be surprised if they were trying to weasel their way into that title bout. So we'll see how that goes from there. Now, the Rascals, as you know, they have been, ever since Zachary Wentz made his return, they have been aiming for the Impact World Tag Team titles. They tried to weasel their way in Slammiversary, which did not, costing the ABC their tag match. But however, they are part of a tag team tournament. But the more told them that do not interfere in other tag matches involved in this one, or else they'll be, how do I say, deducted from their, or be suspended indefinitely. So they have to play by the rules, regardless that they feel that they deserve the tag titles. Now, Alan Angels versus Heath. Now, this happened a couple of weeks ago. Alan Angels had declared himself the rock star. However, Heath, some people can agree that Heath is a natural born rock star. Now, that's not what I was saying. That's exactly what's been going on. Now, you probably would have thought this was going to be a good match because, of course, Heath, who has kids, would have done everything in his power to prove a point, which, of course, he did with the wake-up call. So he picked up a really strong win against Alan Angels. But the one thing that does make me wonder, is this over between them, or this is just the beginning? We'll see. Now, during an interview with Gia Miller, Eric Young, as you know, made his triumphant return at Slammiversary when he teamed up with his coach, his mentor, and friend, Scott D'Amore. But, however, they did talk about a little bit of what happened last week when Young defeated Nick Aldis. So, of course, he did say that he's going to deal with the design personally for what they did last week. However, the obvious question did remain. How is it that Eric Young was still alive? Well, Eric Young said that there's footage of that. So that's going to be at the end of the show. So we'll get to that. So be patient. Now, our next match, we have Jake Something, who has been very impressive since his return to the Impact Zone. He takes on Davey Vega, but I can tell you this match was a hard match. Not a hard match for Jake, but for his opponent, who was shish kebab when he got into the Void by Jake Something, picking up a good win. Now, as you know, recently, last week, we saw a bit of an alliance between Bully Ray, Moose, and Myers, including our current X Division champion, Lio Rush. However, this is something that has been going on for quite some time. However, Bully Ray said there's going to be a 6-man tag match with him and Moose and Myers, but he wants Lio Rush to be by their corner. Now, I can tell by the look of Lio Rush, it's like, this has nothing to do with me. I'm my own person. But remember what happened last week. He said, either you with us or against us. So most likely he's with them. Now, our next match we have is, of course, the Digital Media Championship. We have Joe Hendry versus Yuya Uemura versus Kevin Knight and Kenny King. You probably would have thought there was going to be some interesting dynamics because, of course, Kenny King defeated Joe Hendry for this title, all thanks to his stooge, Sheldon Jean. But however, this match did allow for Kenny King to retain the title when he shoved Yuya Uemura to Joe Hendry in order to retain the title. Now, our next interview, we have Bailey and Gresham. Now, we remember what happened with Bailey and Gresham. With Gresham, my bad. Gresham had a little problem with the fact that no rules were being enforced in Impact. Now, Gresham has always been known to play by the rules, but of course it was Speedball who tried to get him back to see if they can try to enforce the rules in their own way. But we'll see how that happens because right now they will be facing against the Rascals at the main event. Now, as you know, the Knockouts tag team division has been changed shifts with what's her name, Killer Kelly and Masha Slamovich. It appears the Death Dolls are determined to see if they can win those belts. However, they decided to look for Santino, but they had to come up with a game plan. But Crazy Steve showed up, and all's in this. I think but the obvious thing is, what was Steve doing there? Well, I'm sure they're trying to find a way to see if they can get back to their normal selves since Courtney Rush appeared out of nowhere. So we'll see how that turns out. Now, our main event is, of course, the tag tournament with the Rascals versus Bailey and Gresham. Now, you probably would have thought that this match would have fallen with Bailey and Gresham, but nope, it did not. It was the Rascals played with their usual tricks. They actually applied a spray can onto Bailey's eyes in order to pick up the win. Now, the moment as we expected. As you know, Eric Young was killed off at Impact Wrestling about a couple of months ago, about maybe 9 months to be exact. But the obvious question does remain: how did he survive? Well, we did see what Diener did. He did stab him, and then he just survived out of nowhere. Somehow he was able to crawl out of that prison cell, make his way to his motorcycle, and drive into the night. So I think there's still more unanswered questions about where's he been for the last 9 months, even though he survived his little, execution. But we'll see what happens until then. I think that's pretty much it with Impact Wrestling. I believe it's time for our final review, Ring of Honor. Okie dokie, our final review, Ring of Honor. So let's get started. It opened up with, of course, the Ring of Honor World Television Title Eliminator match. We have Shane Taylor, who was a former World Television Champion in Ring of Honor, also takes on another former champion. That would be none other than the fallen angel, Christopher Daniels. Now, last tournament we did see Shane Taylor was involved, but he did not make it all the way through. He was defeated by Dalton Castle. But now he's more determined than ever to gain what he has lost before the purchase. So I think this was a pretty good match, but I can see by Shane Taylor, he's determined to get back what was his, and exactly what he did. He put Christopher Daniel in a package pile driver, and boom, just like that, they retained it. He moves on. Now, for some odd reason, last week we saw Jackson and the Iron Savages challenge for the Ring of Honor World 6-Man Tag Team Championships. However, they came up short, and now the Iron Savages make their next move was against our new Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions, Aussie Open. But of course, Aussie Open are willing to challenge, but they are confident enough to believe they're not losing those titles anytime soon. Instead of bringing them the ring, they hand it over to Tony Khan. Now, you probably can guess, okay, let's see how Aussie Open deals with the Iron Savages. I mean, these guys are big dudes. They probably would have done everything in their power to try to take them out, but somehow, some way, they were able to pick up Boulder and put him in the Coriolis. I mean, that is some big dude. You probably wouldn't expect that, but yes. Now, back into the interview section with Lexi, we have Stokely Hathaway. However, one particular person is not happy with what happened at Death Before Dishonor, screwing him to win the match. So, this thing between Dalton and Stokely is not even done. Not by a long shot. So, we'll see what they're going to go for that. Now, our next match, we have the ROH Pure Wrestling title. We have Josh Woods, who issued the challenge. Well, Sterling was the one who issued the challenge on his behalf to take on Katsuyori Shibata. Now, we know that Woods was a former Pure Wrestling champion in Ring of Honor before, but now it's Shibata. I have to say, Shibata really got put himself to the test. Josh Woods, a fantastic Pure Wrestler. I have to say he would have won it, but it was Shibata who did not give up no matter what. He took him out with the PK and extended his hands. Now, during an interview with Josh Woods, he's willing to admit the defeat, but he feels that he's been not succeeding more than he thought. So he felt that something has to change. Now, I don't know if that means he will step away from the varsity athletes and Sterling. That's something I don't know. But we'll stay close to that. Now, our next match, we have Zach Clayton, the reality check, taking on Dalton Castle. Now, you know Dalton Castle probably is not in a good mood due to what's been going on with him being screwed out of the World Television title. But I can tell you that match ended in a batarang, which was pretty awesome. So that says it all. So we'll see how that plays out. Now, our next match is tag team match, and we got Nick Camarado taking on teaming with Joro Joel, who we haven't seen for quite some time. They take on the Infantry. Now, the Infantry, as you know, has developed a lot of momentum since they reformed, not to mention having Trish Adora. Those who are new probably ask yourself what's so special about them. All these men and women served in our United States military. Sean Dean served with the Navy, Carly Bravo, and Trish Adora with the U.S. Army. So that kind of sets it all, and I think they are one of the most exciting teams that people can get behind, knowing they served our country. But they were able to pick up the win when Dean pinned Jora Joel, and just like that, they are probably will be kept an eye on. Now, our next match, we have women's action. We have legit Layla Hirsch taking on Miranda, what's her name? Vionette. It was a pretty good match, but however, at some point, Maria Kanellis showed up. Now, I don't know what's the extent of having her, but I think our commentators may be on to something. They're saying that what if they want to expand the kingdom? I mean, it's true, but also you got to remember, Maria did have a big influential in the women's division in Ring of Honor before the purchase. So that could be it. But you got to remember, it was Layla Hirsch that did help out the kingdom to take on the Infantry. That is something that we have been forgotten. But as always, Layla Hirsch shows why she is so dominant when she applied the armbar, and just like that, she picked up the win. Our next match is another eliminator match for the World Television title. We have Tony Nese taking on Gravity. Now, to be fair, I possibly thought this match was going to go in favor of Tony Nese. The reason is this, because we have seen Tony Nese more often in Ring of Honor. However, Gravity, who's been with the promotion for a very short time, I didn't think he had a chance. But I was a bit of surprised how this match ended when, of course, but there was the moment where Sterling gets involved to ensure Tony Nese wins it, but it did not until Gravity applied a body splash onto Nese to pick up the win. This is a huge disappointing loss for Sterling, who represents Nese and Woods, but I don't know how this is going to go on any further. But like I said, I would have assumed that Nese would have won this one, but Gravity, who's been in a short time, looks like they're giving him a little bit of the push. Now, our next match is the ROH Women's World Championship match. We have Diamante versus Athena. I have to say, what a match. It's pretty darn amazing. I did not expect it to be anything good, but it was. However, it was Athena with a pinfall onto Diamante, but something has drastically changed. We have seen Athena time and time again, after defeating her opponents, she beats them up. But not this time. But the obvious question is, why? Why did she let her go? But during an interview with Lexi Neer, of course, Diamante is aware that things didn't go her way. But Athena gave the reasons why she did it. She thinks that she sees something in Diamante that reminded her a bit of a younger herself. But however, she said that she has to figure out what that is. Until then, if she wants another title shot, she needs to figure that out on her own. I'm sure Diamante is not in the mood for that, for being lectured by Athena in some capacity, but we'll see how that rolls out. Now, our next match is tag team action. We got the boys taking on the Gates of Anagony. You probably would have thought this was a pretty good match too. I mean, the boys did try to take on two huge dudes, but that did not work out until they were taken out by the Gates of Agony. But it was Teo Leona who picked up the win. Excuse me. Now, our next match, we have Cole Carter taking on LISG. Once again, Maria Kanelli shows up in this match. We don't know why, but if it is possible, if the Kingdom are planning to expand their membership, that is the possibility. But it was Cole Carter with a pinfall onto LSG to pick up the win. So we'll see where they're going to go for that. Now, an exclusive clip happened right after in Death Before Dishonor. The Righteous and Stu Grayson has lost a big match. However, they decided to thank Stu Grayson for allowing them to bring back to their aggressiveness. But we need to ask ourselves the question. I feel that, Vincent thinks he takes the credit, but it's in fact Stu Grayson that did. I don't know, I noticed it. But we'll see what happens with Dark Order after this one. Now, our next match, we have Robin Renegade taking on, what's her name? Christina Marie. I have to say, good match. We have seen Robin and her sister, Charlotte, made their ways in AEW and Ring of Honor, but it was Robin with a very impressive submission move that picked up the win. Now, our main event is the Workhorsemen, Anthony Henry and JD Drake, taking on Commander and Hijo de Vikingo. Now, these two guys did team up in AEW not too long, this past Wednesday, but however, it's interesting these two are teaming up. They have been rivals before, but people are calling this a dream team match. And I have to say, they are. These guys throw in the best spots in pro wrestling. They're like equally crazy in some capacity. But the best moment is their synchronization. So basically, they were able to think exactly what they're thinking. But it was a double 450 onto a Drake that picked up the win by Vikingo, just like that. I have to say, Ring of Honor was pretty good for this one. So I can't wait to see what else is going to happen next week and the next pay-per-view. So I think that's pretty much it. So it's time for news updates. Okay, welcome to our news update. So let's get started to tell what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. For our GCW updates for the LA show on the 11th of August, No Signal in the Hills, Gringo Loco will be in action to take on the Southern Psycho Mance Warner. Now, a few days later, on the 13th of August in Tijuana, Mexico, right across the border from us here in San Diego, Gringo Loco will be in action for the Lucha de Explosivos against Baby Extreme. Now, September 9th in Chicago for the Sad You Will event, we have Rina Yamashita will be teaming with Masha Slamish to take on Los Macizos. Now, later on in the month of September, as you know, I announced a brand new show that was announced by GCW, and it's called Crushed Up, and it's going to take place in Brooklyn, New York. Now, they haven't announced any participations yet. However, they already announced two names. The first one is Richard Holiday, and the second is Alex Coughlin. So that's going to be very good to watch. Now, if you guys are fans of CMLL and New Japan with their show known as Fantastic Mania, where, of course, the collaboration between wrestlers from Japan and Mexico collide. However, now there's a new one coming from CMLL with British promotion RevPro, and this one's called Fantastica Mania UK. So it appears now, it's been announced by RevPro that they have developed a partnership with CMLL. So it's pretty interesting. Now we know that New Japan has developed a relationship with the British promotion RevPro, and now CMLL is doing the same thing with RevPro. That's going to be great. They haven't announced for any matches yet, but hopefully down the line we will. This event will take place in September on the 23rd. Now, as you know, we get closer to NWA 75 later on this month. It was announced that Allison Kay is now participating in the Burke Invitational Gauntlet, so that's going to be interesting. We know she was a former NWA Women's Champion before the relaunch by Billy Corgan. Now, Choco Pro / Got to Move wrestler Saori last on August 3rd was her birthday. We haven't seen her for quite some time, but however, she did put out a tweet about the specifics of her absence. Let me pull it up real quick. Yeah, this is what she had to say. I'm currently absent working as a Choco Pro staff and actress, but you don't know what's going to happen when. Pay attention to me. I would be happy if people haven't followed me yet. Follow me as a gift. So she has been helping out with Choco Pro, but not as a wrestler. It's still no indication why. We know that she has been injured, ill for quite some time, but we'll see how that turns out. Now, more on the All-Star Junior Festival USA that will take place on the 19th in Philadelphia. The next participant is none other than Ryusuke Taguchi, so that's going to be a lot of fun. West Coast Pro has announced for the LA show from the West Coast with Love on the 10th of September. They announced that tag team West Coast Wrecking Crew will be making their presence known. Now, as you remembered on a previous news update during an episode, the Runaway Wrestler, the biopic about Mayu Iwatani, is now finished into a wrap or so. More information has come around. Now, recently we know that Mayu Iwatani was not present on many times due to her being as an advisor to help out with the film. We know that Momokoko has been absent due to the fact that she has been taking a role to play Fuka, who was Mayu Iwatani's mentor and teacher. However, another name has popped up, her participation in the film. Sudi was announced that Sudi has also participated. Now, some of you may ask, has she ever taken acting roles? Well, we know before wrestling, she had tried acting. Some people at the time didn't say that she was pretty enough, which was cool. However, it was now revealed by Scott Edwards of Fightful Select that Sudi had a role that she played, and that role is none other than Kagetsu, who was one of the leaders of Oedo Tai. I don't know what's the significance of that, but I do know that Kagetsu was a good locker room person, from my understanding, before Bushiroad acquired Stardom. But can't wait to see it. She did put on some of the gear that, of course, Kagetsu would have worn at the time, but it's really fun to watch. Now, if you guys have been MLW, the NWA fan for a long time, you guys remember Velvet Sky, who we recognize from Impact Wrestling. However, there's been a lot of questions regarding. Now, we know Velvet Sky has been commentating for the NWA for quite a while, maybe a year or two. However, we haven't seen her since then. So the obvious question many fans, even this one, tweeted, saying did she quit or anything. However, that wasn't the case. Velvet Sky tweeted this to indicate her explanation, and this is what she had to say. I haven't quit, no. My cat has cancer, so my first priority has been caring for him at home. I don't know how long he has, so for the time being, my time on the road with NWA has been limited because I don't feel comfortable leaving him alone. The NWA has been very understanding. Now, I want to be fair with everybody. I have a cat, and I get worried sometimes when I'm not home for two reasons. One, I'm scared that my dad could accidentally leave the door open, and she just runs away, does whatever without not knowing. And it's understandable. Now, Velvet Sky, in her case, she's not married. She has no kids. Well, she doesn't want any kids. And it's understandable what she's going through, but I would have been in her shoes in that position too if it was me. So, we'll see about that. Now, moving on to our news updates. A very interesting development has taken place with All Japan Pro Wrestling. Now, as you know, All Japan Pro Wrestling has been involving Yoshi wrestlers in their promotions. We have seen that already. First, it was with New Japan and then Pro Wrestling Noah. Now, another name has been announced to participate at their Yoyogi event on September 8th, and it's none other than Saori Anou. Now, it is interesting, Saori Anou. Now, recently we know she's been appearing in Stardom and then, of course, in Noah, but according to my information, in Twitter, that she said that she's going to be taking a special participation. I don't know what that means, but I'm sure I'll get to that at some point. But we'll find out. Now, Sendai Girls has announced another name to participate at their big show on September 2nd. Our former NXT star, Saori, better known as Sayuri, has announced her participation. Now, this is really interesting. Her being in this big show is great. However, we do know that Kairi, who will be her tag partner for their Surrealism event, will be involved in this show too. And not to mention Suri's BFF, Natsupoi, will be there too. So that's going to be interesting to see. I wouldn't be surprised if all three of them team up. That would be awesome to see. Now, finally, this is a very interesting one that I saved for last for all of you. Recently, I did announce that El Phantasmo will be participating in the 11th anniversary of RevPro on this month on the 26th of August. However, it was now revealed that he will be in a tag match taking on David Finlay and Gabe Kidd of the Bullet Club War Dogs. However, the Bullet Club made it obvious, saying that El Phantasmo does not have any friends, which coincidentally is true. But El Phantasmo did say something that was very interesting. He said, "It's true, I don't have any friends. But you forget, Bullet Club has a lot of enemies." So the obvious question does tell, who did El Phantasmo call? Who is one of these enemies is willing to step up to take on the Bullet Club War Dogs? Well, this one was a bit of a surprise. This guy was a former RevPro undisputed British heavyweight champion, and this guy is none other than Katsuyori Shibata. Yes, Shibata will be participating in this RevPro event. This is very awesome, and the best part is now he has to take Gabe Kidd into school. Keep in mind, Gabe Kidd has issues towards Shibata. Now, Finlay made it perfectly clear to Connors, to Conglin, Gabe Kidd, that Shibata has failed them. But I'm sure Shibata is going to take them back to school to teach these fools a lesson. So, we'll see how that turns out. So, at the moment, I think I'm done with our news updates. So, let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, GLEAT will have their biggest event called Version Mega. There's going to be a lot of matches taking place. From my understanding, there's going to be some MMA fights, some UWF matches. We know Unagi Sayaka will be involved in this. I'm sure the G-Rex and the G-Infinity titles will be on the line. So this is going to be a good one, and we cannot forget, of course, AEW Rampage and NXT Level Up. So I'm looking forward to that. So at the moment, I'll leave it as where we are at now. So for now, I will see. I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So goodbye, mwah, and have a nice day. Bang.